good afternoon. It looks like it's about time to get started. We've got quite a nice group here. Hope everybody can hear me clearly. Everybody can see my screen. I am going to get started now because we don't have a lot of time and we have lots to cover. So my name is Michelle Spence. I am a regional partnership manager with Learning.com. I'm super excited that you guys have joined today to join our webinar and see an overview of Learning.com's K-8 digital literacy solutions. I have Justin, Manny, and Abby, and they're here with me as well, and we'll be monitoring chat. A few housekeeping items. At this point, I have all of you muted. If you have a question, you can type it into the chat bar. It's here on the right. Justin and the rest of the team are going to be monitoring your questions and comments. As I mentioned, it's a 30-minute presentation. We have lots of information. I want to be super respectful of your valuable time today. We're going to end on time, but I wanted to make sure I mention that we have a great prize at the very end. One of you lucky ducks is going to win a 4-month classroom subscription to EasyTech for 35 students. So Abby's going to pull a name randomly at the end of this presentation. Okay, so let's get started. Do you agree with this statement? Think about your own personal experience in learning technology. How do kids learn digital skills? Do you remember the first time you did a search on the internet? What about your first cell phone or learning how to post on Facebook or Twitter? Gee, I bet a few of you can even remember the first time you learned to use a VCR or type a paper on a word processor. No telling what this baby's going to have to learn over the next few decades. So let's start with digital literacy. What is it anyway? So how about we start with what it's not? Did any of you think of any of these things? Are these things that you had in your mind? Okay, so here's what digital literacy is. I'm imagining that your districts have invested in digital literacy in some form or another. You may have even spent lots of time and money and you've developed very, very detailed plans. This work is so meaningful and super hard. You're obviously progressive thinking just for attending this webinar today. Given today's challenges, it's imperative that you have an effective and scalable digital literacy curriculum. We are the partner who has done this for over 20 years, and we'd like to be your partner too. Today's students are immersed in a digital ecosystem. It's an environment that demands technology skills in all aspects of their life. These skills are no longer a nice to have. We know this. There was a 2020 survey done, it was by Pearson. It showed that the #1 skill parents wish schools would teach was technology skills. And speaking of 2020, well, we all know what happened when our students and teachers were forced to go 100% digital and online. Those lacking those fundamental skills and access fell even farther behind. Here's just a few comments from mainstream media coverage of COVID-19 and its impact on equity and the digital divide. Your school districts are at the center of this 3-part remote learning plan. When we think of digital divide, we most often think of a student's lack of access to devices, to infrastructure, but the lack of a cohesive plan for both digital use and digital readiness are also major factors. Even in a traditional school model, integrating technology can be an issue. True technology integration often doesn't rise to these higher levels of integration. It's instead used in a passive capacity rather than an active one. While there's a plethora of reasons technology use remains passive, the need for adequate teacher training and resources reigns supreme. And this study was done pre-COVID in 2018. And according to this study, even adults are moderately skilled in technology at best. So how about computer science? So think about this. Our CEO brought this up the other day. So the country's most successful smartphone company, retail company, and car manufacturer all have one thing in common. So that's Apple, Amazon, Tesla. All of their founders were computer science students. So when you look at this slide and think about this lack of representation among females and minorities, this skews their own self-perception, whether they feel a sense of belonging in this field, and with that, it halts their interest and advancement. This lack of representation impacts all of us. So who are we? We are Learning.com. We've been at this a while, about 20 years. You can see here that we're represented in 48 states, Over 1 million students use our platform, 1,300 districts. We're super proud of these numbers. Take a look at this. We have been among industry leaders over these 20 years. Hopefully you recognize many of these. We've won Best of Show at ISTE, District Administrator, lots of different awards. This Tech and Learning Award, actually just from last year for our platform. And standards, right? So we've got these really high levels of seal of alignment from ISTE. We work with CSTA, Common Core, and so forth. We'll talk a little bit about standards a little bit later. Okay, so there's clearly a lot of things wrong with this picture, right? But let me suggest an analogy for what we're talking about here. So if you set out to become a weightlifter and you've got this goal that you're gonna lift 400-pound barbell, does it make sense to start training with 400 pounds? No, you're gonna start out with maybe like 50 pounds and build. We do the same thing in education. We call it scaffolding. In math, you know, you can't aim for an 8th grade algebra success if you haven't even learned fractions in 3rd grade. In literacy, you can't teach reading comprehension without first starting with phonemic awareness, sight reading. The same is true with technology. How do we help students achieve deeper learning with the rigors of something like STEM without first ensuring fluency of those fundamental technology skills, which is digital literacy? So we offer a comprehensive solution to support you in this endeavor. Okay, so I want you to take this next 2 minutes and pay a little bit of attention here. I'm going to play a very brief overview video for you. I think it'll give you a nice taste of what we do and who we are. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to walk you through a much deeper dive into our solutions, give you more detail. And pay attention to this. I may even give you a bit of a quiz on the through here.
Using digital literacy and computer science so they can use technology, create digital artifacts, and design solutions to some of the world's biggest challenges. With Learning.com award-winning technology curriculum EasyTech, you and your team of educators ensure that all students are prepared for a career in computer science. Through EasyTech Scaffolding curriculum, you promote digital equity by closing the digital skills gap and giving all students access to authentic learning using technology. The content areas develop students' digital skills like keyboarding and computer fundamentals, skills of proficiency in word processing, presentation, spreadsheet, and multimedia tools, and enable them to practice critical thinking and problem solving with computational thinking and design real-world solutions with coding. Across these content areas, students have hands-on and collaborative practice using digital tools and skills that are the foundation of successful technology integration in the classroom. Developed by educators like you, EasyTech has an ISTE seal of alignment and is aligned to national and state-level computer science, digital literacy, and technology standards. Your EasyTech subscription gains you access to its comprehensive curriculum, which features elements like digital lesson plans with an interactive interface that individualize learning based on student performance, hands-on and collaborative projects in which students create original digital artifacts using real software programs, free and post grade-level tests designed to measure student growth, and discussion opportunities and other formative check-ins. The program saves teachers time with detailed scope sequences, pre-built pacing calendars, and digital lesson plans. EasyTech helps your team ensure technology integration in the classroom is student-led, purposeful, and effective with adaptive content and gamified lessons that provide immediate impact to students. EasyTech is designed for simple implementation that enables your team to feel comfortable teaching technology even if they don't have prior experience. And with EasyTech's in-depth year-over-year reporting at the individual, classroom, school, and district level, your work is rooted in evidence.
Okay, so a huge apology for the echoing. Abby just said that it was super echoey. I apologize for that. We have a link to this video that we can make sure that you all get access. I apologize for that squeaky sound. It wasn't intended. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, so all right, so let's talk a little bit about our solutions. Hopefully you were able to get past the echo noise and you were able to kind of just get a nice taste of what we provide. So we like to look at our solutions in three buckets, if you will. So we have a digital literacy, which we've been talking about today, a digital literacy solution for grades K through 12. It's a full online curriculum. That's called EasyTech. That's our digital literacy curriculum. We have a coding and computational thinking full curriculum for grades K through 12 as well. Yes, it goes down to kindergarten. And we also have computer science curriculum. Teaches computer science and coding for middle schoolers. So we'll dive into these content areas. When you think about technology, we talked about being comprehensive, making sure that we have we reach all of the areas that students need to learn. So you can think of it in this way. There's the basics of technology. There's software skills, which some of you may have heard it called applications, things like word processing and spreadsheets, presentations, multimedia. And then there's advanced, right? So computational thinking, coding, and even cyber robotics. We cover all of these different areas. And as I go through the different products, you'll be able to see where these certain areas come into play. So we'll start with our digital literacy curriculum. This is a full online web delivered. You got to see lots of different shots of our content. Again, this goes all the way down to kindergarten. Imagine students, when you think about technology basics, what is a computer? Where do I find the A key? What is a mouse? How does it work? Play in cloud. They actually even start learning some of the very basics of word processing software and learning a lot of vocabulary as well. And then it moves all the way up to a very clear scope and sequence that guides you through all these computer-based lessons, projects that go through, and we quiz and we find out where they perform, and we work to assess and teach students those skills. So this is called EasyTech. EasyTech, I mentioned earlier, is aligned to those standards that we discussed. We use a combination of both projects and lessons to teach these skills. You can see here a couple of screenshots. The top one is our adaptive technology curriculum. So we know that keyboarding is a super important skill. Not only do we focus on words per minute and accuracy, but we're all about making sure that students can practice and that this is prescriptive. And so as a student works through the program, they're actually able to work on the keys, the certain areas, zones, if you will, in the keyboarding. And you know what? It's gamified and fun. Kids like to do it. It's challenging. And we know that that's a foundation from everything they're going to do from kindergarten all the way up to that coding curriculum I mentioned. The screenshot below it is our elementary student interface. So you can see here that it's a fun interface. Students are able to work through these different challenges and lessons and projects in a fun environment, gamified, great characters that represent all students. Every student will be able to find a character or two that represents themselves. And then we also accommodate learning styles. You can see here that I mentioned that we have certain languages that we can use closed captioning, that they can even control their own playback speeds if they need to. And then also, of course, it's constantly capturing all the data, so we have reporting so that we can find out how the students are performing, how they're progressing, so then we can make those actionable decisions as we move through the curriculum. So coding and computational thinking. So again, I mentioned this goes down to kindergarten. We start working with students on, of course, computational thinking. That's super important in all aspects of life. But in particular, we want students to learn coding. And so we teach CoffeeScript, which is, if you don't know, it's the baby version of JavaScript. And that starts out, again, with the babies in kindergarten. And then we work our way all the way up to Python language, where they're actually writing in real Python language using text-based coding. And we've worked our way all the way up to even working on industry certifications and things with Python through projects. It's project-based, so kids are able to go through, work through a project, and then demonstrate what they're learning. Easy Code is that solution for both elementary and middle. I already mentioned, it's game-like. You can see here again aligned to those standards. We use block-based coding when we work with the younger kids, and then that text-based program, which is Python for the older middle school students. And then I just mentioned here the MTA, which is the Microsoft certification in Python. I heard somewhere, I don't know where I heard this, but students coming out of this, and yes, we have students in middle school doing this, that somebody could go into the workforce and make somewhere around $70,000 as a Python coder and having this skill. So we partner with lots of people to provide this content. So you may have heard of some, if not all, of these. Common Sense Education, you probably know them. They have fantastic content that teaches online safety, digital citizenship. So their entire content can be delivered through our platform, which includes quizzes and all electronic. So that's something that comes with our curriculum. And then these other coding companies like CodeMonkey, Codesters, CoderZ, which is that virtual robotics program I mentioned as well. These are people that we have partnered with to provide a really robust meeting demands of our customers. And then I mentioned this before, but I just wanted to throw it out there again. Not only things like the ISTE standards, those newest 2016 standards for students, or those CSTA standards, but EasyTech and inquiry content, it can be aligned to your core state standards, which we have done for every single state, and we can share those with you when you're ready to look a little bit deeper. Learning.com also integrates with your LMS, like Canvas or Schoology. We also support Clever and ClassLink rostering, and it syncs with your student information system. Have you guys heard of the Project Unicorn? It's a pledge to keep highest levels of security, privacy, interoperability amongst vendors. So I'm guessing this is important that you would expect this from a partner that you would consider, and it's super important to us as well. So does it work? I won't read this to you. I'll give you a moment, but this is a quote from one of our school district customers in New York. So now let's look at efficacy for just a moment. So we tested over 30,000 students on those ISTE-S standards, the ones I mentioned earlier. 30,000, and we did 5th graders, and we also did 8th graders. We had a 5th grade version of this test that tests proficiency in ISTE, and then we had an 8th grade test. The results of this, only 25% of the kids that we tested, those 30,000 kids, showed proficient in those digital literacy skills. And if you're not familiar with ISTE, it's an International Society for Technology and Education, and you can go to their website and look at those standards. They have standards for students, they have standards for educators and districts. So you can take a look at those. We're fully aligned to those ISTE standards. Okay, so how about our content? If you use EasyTech, which is what we've been talking about, those digital literacy lessons, if you use EasyTech, well, you actually perform better on those items. So if you were to test somebody on a specific skill, like a word processing skill or even a computer fundamental skill, we know from this study that if you do 4 or more of these EasyTech lessons, many of them in the 12-minute range, so just to get an idea of how much time they've spent, they show a 37% growth in a pre to post assessment of these different skills. And how about online assessment? So that became a big question, whether or not students taking their online assessments, right, their end-of-year assessments online, was there an issue when they did it through technology, right, instead of old paper and pencil? So this is the ASMERIT test. This was in 2016. This is the Arizona standardized test. And so these were 5th graders. And we took a study of how many items they did with EasyTech, so how much they practiced digital literacy, and then how they performed on the actual assessment. And if you did 20 or more of our EasyTech lessons and projects, you performed 55.8% proficient. 55.8% of those kids tested proficient or above. And you can see on the other end, if you didn't have EasyTech, 12.9% of those students that didn't get that EasyTech were able to score proficient or above on the ASMERIT test. Okay, so let's talk about implementation. This is the last thing I'm going to mention to you guys is about implementation. So we know, we've got this. We know how to help you roll this out and how to use this stuff effectively. And these are just a few of the examples of the content contained within our service packages. Our customer support team is one of the very best in the industry. You can see here we have lots and lots and lots of ways to support teachers. We've been doing this, as I mentioned, for years, and we can do it, and we would be honored to have the opportunity. So one thing I wanted to mention, I'm just so super excited about this. I've been on a bunch of calls with districts recently, and I just want to mention this to you guys. We have this brand new online training center. So more than ever, I'm noticing that districts are looking for easy, engaging, on-demand resources that can train their teachers. So what this thing is, it's the class online. It's got step-by-step series of classes, topics. They support the classroom teacher. So we make it easy. Everything from setting up classes, navigating the platform, how you're going to run reports, all the stuff in between. So right at your fingertips, anytime, 24/7, teachers can go in and get this training real time on demand. So we're super excited about this. So where do we go from here? So, so proud of myself. I did great on time. So I want to point out a couple of things that I would love, we would love for you to consider, would be that you follow us. So you can see here we are on Facebook, Twitter, you can see LinkedIn, Pinterest. Abby maybe could, since she's there, maybe could even send you a couple of links of that, or at least tell you what our names are. You can find it on our website, of course. That's the coolest thing about our product, is that our name is our website. So if you go to Learning.com, you can find all of this stuff. I'm also suggesting that you subscribe to something called Equip. So Equip is a professional magazine, if you will. It's electronic. And you're able to get really high-end white papers, articles, all these little things that I've been talking about. That's where I get my information. This is it's a community. So you would join this community, subscribe to it. You get articles, you get white papers, information, studies. So check that out. That's the site to do that. Another thing that I would suggest would be to have an actual personal product demo. So somebody like myself that covers your area, your territory of the country, would love to have the opportunity to share the product, dive into the product, show it to you, answer your questions personally, and so forth. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is that we are experts in this field. So I know that everybody, I'm imagining, I should say, that everybody on this call is has their own unique needs, right? You have your own thoughts, your own unique situations. Well, let us come talk to you. We've experienced this for 20 years. I know the world has changed, but who better than somebody who's been thinking about this all this time to help you consider ways that we can help support any of those areas that I mentioned in your digital literacy journey. So that being said, Justin, I guess I could unmute some folks here. Let's see.
Can you hear me, Michelle?
I can. Hi, Justin.
Awesome. Great job. All right, there are a few questions.
Thank you. Okay.
Is there support for my Spanish-speaking students?
Yes, good. So I mentioned earlier, and I probably didn't dive into it enough, I said that we were, I don't even remember what wording I used, but yes, we do have all of these EasyTech lessons and projects, a couple of things. It can actually be delivered in Spanish. So your students could get the content and the questions and the lessons and the dialogue and everything in Spanish language. There's also Spanish captioning. So they could be watching these videos and working through the videos in English, but then they could have Spanish captioning and vice versa. So they could be working in Spanish and have the English captioning. And then on top of that, we have a bunch of support for parents. So right now would be, of course, important that as you're communicating with the parents, we have parent letters that are also could be delivered in Spanish, just in case that you have Spanish-speaking parents at home. Did I answer that okay, Justin? That was a good question.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one is, can students access this program at home, especially with remote learning happening?
Yes, awesome. Yes, really good question. Okay, so Learning.com, everything I just showed you, right? The EasyTech curriculum, the coding, you know, all of that this is an online curriculum. So as long as students have access to the internet, as long as they can go on and type in our address and access, they will be able to pick up exactly where they are at school, and it's real time. So as long as they can get on the internet, they can have access to this curriculum.
Awesome. Who can teach this curriculum? Is there any best practices?
So you know what? It just depends, right? So it depends. All the time it comes down to time, right? So I've seen it done so many different ways. I have seen core content area teachers. I've seen grade level teachers, 4th grade, let's all stop. We're going to start working on spreadsheets today. Obviously, we've seen tech labs where it's a wheel, or maybe it's an elective. You know, you have like a computer science elective or a coding class. You know, I mentioned this at the beginning, but it's all about integration, right? Should not be taught in isolation. We really want kids to start integrating this into real life, into content areas. I think the magic behind our content, and if you schedule one of those demos, you'll get to see it, but the magic is that we have these projects where they get to demonstrate what they know. Yeah, we taught you about spreadsheets, you know what they are, you've done it inside of EasyTech, you know how to do it. Now let's go make a spreadsheet. Let's go on Excel, let's go on a Google Sheet, and let's, you know, compare, you know, the number of desks versus the number of chairs versus the number of kids with blonde hair in our classroom, or what have you, right? So you want to be able to demonstrate that you know how to do this. So to answer your question, I've seen it done so many different ways, but we want it integrated. But I've even seen paraprofessionals do it, you know, and then the teachers, you know, their core teacher or their grade level teacher knows that they're getting those EasyTech lessons down at the lab, you know, with that lab teacher, but then they can carry it over and then feel confident that then they can assign a child to do a PowerPoint or assign somebody to do something on Google Sheets or what have you.
Very good. That's all the questions that I can see right now. If we've missed any, please reach out to Michelle, Abby, or myself, and we'd be more than happy to answer those for you.
Okay, so thank you, Justin. All right, so let me see here. It looks like it is time. I know I've left this slide up long enough. Okay, so it looks like we're about to give away. So let me mention again, this is EasyTech curriculum. Actually, the person that wins will have access to the entire K through 12, but we can, you know, show you how to use it appropriate to your students. This will be for 35 kids up to, so however many you have, and it will be for the rest of the school year. So what Abby has done is she randomly, I have to trust her, she randomly picked a number. Now I have to go to attendees because she can't see them, and she picked number 2. Abby, is that right? Number 2.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so the winner, number 2 on my list, is Dory Harris. Let me unmute Dory if she's listening. Hold on. Oh, maybe I can't unmute her. Sorry, I don't know if I can. Hold on. Let's try this. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, yes. Okay. Can you hear us, Dory? Yes. Now, it doesn't seem to be working. Sorry, I'm trying to unmute everyone, and I'm having struggle with it. Unmute all, yeah, okay. Well, I'm sorry, Dory, I don't know if you can chat. Can you chat here at least and tell me that you're seeing this? Okay. All right, so Abby wanted me to remind everybody, we're gonna send out a link to the recording of this. Also, you had handouts. So if you look on the right-hand side, it should say handout. I gave you 3 handouts. There was one for Easy Code, which is the coding piece, the EasyTech, and then also our new features, just to kind of highlight all the new stuff. If any of you are on this line that already knew about us or just kind of are interested in what's new. We will definitely follow up with you. Dory, sorry about not being able to unmute, folks. I'm not sure what the deal is. I'm trying, but it doesn't seem to work. Okay, well, all right. Oh, okay. Okay, guys. All right, so that's it. I guess it's time to go. Thank you all so very much for your time again today, and we look forward to working with each of you. We will reach out to you all, of course, but in the meantime, please take a moment and let us know if you'd like to schedule some time with us. Thank you all.